afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul. I am a nerd, and this is the May 2014 Worldox Virtual User Group Meeting. Look at the screen, Mary Jo. Okay, last time we did we do this to Worldox? Well, hopefully not, because although your screen may say it's Practice Master Virtual User Group Meeting, it is not. It's the Worldox Virtual User Group Meeting. Having a little bit of technical difficulty, and so in the height of the passionate moments of swearing at the computer, we forgot to change our screen. So instead of that, we'll just move on to the next screen, which talks about the GoToWebinar control panel. This is how you control your experience of attending this meeting. Most importantly, this little button here that looks like an arrow pointing to the left. If you click that, pointing to the right, if you click that, it will slide this out of the way. So if this big thing happens to be covering up my screen, you'll want to get it out of the way so you can see everything we're doing here. And once you click that and this slides out of the way, this little button will still be visible, but it will turn into one that looks like an arrow pointing to the left. Clicking it again will bring this box back into focus. Why would you want to do that? Well, most of you know the answer to that. It's because you're shy and you have a question, same as it always is. And so if you type your question here and remember to hit the send button, Leanne, our humble and wet but drying nicely moderator, it's raining here by the way, will notice that you have a question. They're laughing at me now. And will interrupt Mary Jo or I at the appropriate time and will ask your question on your behalf. Now, if you have follow-up questions as we're answering, keep typing them. Keep remembering to hit this send button, and Leanne will keep interrupting us and keep asking the rest of your questions. So if we're not answering the question quite the way you want or not going in the right direction or you have a follow-up question, just keep asking, and we'll be sure to keep answering. Now, if you're not feeling shy and you want to ask a question, there's always this button, and we haven't had anybody do it in a while. Maybe we will today, maybe we won't. But clicking this button right here that looks like a hand with an arrow in front of it is raising your hand. And the same thing will happen. Leanne, our humble moderator, will recognize that you have a question. She will interrupt us at the opportune time. But instead of reading your question on your behalf, she will simply unmute you, and you can ask your own question. So you can either click this button here if you want to ask a question live, or you can type a question here and click the send button, and you will be able to do the same sort of thing. Now, I am going to press this button here, and this button here, and maybe even this button here. Gosh, I got to get to the point where I can bring up Worldox, or actually for Mary Jo, we're going to bring up some other stuff. I guess I should tell you what we're talking about while I'm getting ready for Mary Jo. Is today Mary Jo is going to talk about the Worldox Admin program, and this is kind of the first of several virtual user group meetings on Worldox where we will cover things within the admin program. And today she's going to talk about how to set the global overall preferences that affect the whole system. And then I'm going to come in at the end and talk about enterprise and cloud. I'm going to talk about ways to get to your documents that are outside the scope of your network, how to get to stuff that when you're not connected to your computer at the office, and how to still be able to access those documents or save a document into Worldox using either their enterprise server or their Worldox cloud solution. So without any further ado, here's Mary Jo to talk about the WDAdmin program. Mary Jo?
Okay, as Paul just kind of went, you could see he was navigating out here to our drive where we had the Worldox folder. So the first thing you have to know is how to get into WDAdmin. There is a shortcut that you can put onto your desktop, and normally it's managers that are getting into the WDAdmin. Not every user is going to have access to this, nor do you want them to. So if you don't have the little shortcut, you can create one. We're going out to our S drive. It's in our root folder, and we went into our Worldox folder. So you want to go into the place where all of these documents are, not the WD folder, the WDocs folder, I should say. You want to be in the Worldox folder. You don't want where your files or your documents are. You want where all this other program stuff is. So I'm just going to click in here, and I'm going to just start typing WDAdmin so I can get down here. I don't have keyboard and mouse, though, so I really can't do much of anything because Paul restricts, he restricts my control here. So Hopefully he's given me control. All right. Oh, I think I've got it. All right. So I'm just going to start typing WDAdmin so I can get down here. And what I want is WDAdmin.exe. And if you don't have the shortcut, you can right-click and send it to your desktop and make a shortcut. Otherwise, you can come in here. And again, you probably are going to have manager rights to be able to do this. Once this loads, it's going to give me a whole other place where I can set settings. And you can see there's all kinds of different tabs in this menu. We have our edit menu, which has a whole bunch of different things in there. And import, usually when we're first starting to do Worldox, this is when we would use the import. Domains, users, security, profiles, fields, Audit Trail, run, and our help in here. So as Paul said, we are going to be focusing on different areas within admin over the next few webinars. So today, what I want to focus on is preferences. There's a lot of different settings that you can set back here in admin that you don't have access to on your regular Worldox preferences. Now, every user has a preference. If we went into Worldox, you have a little preference tab. Whoops, that's the indexer, Paul. I'm sorry, I didn't have it open. Here, let me get it. I got it. So if I were under my edit, and I went to preferences here and went to Worldox, I might have some of the settings, but I probably don't have as many and in as much detail, and I'm not changing them globally here. I'm changing them for whatever user I'm logged into. So that's the difference. If you're in here under preferences, you're like, well, I'm changing them over here. And if you're a manager, you might be able to change some of those preferences for all users, but you're still going to see more options in the admin than you would over there. So if I go back into my edit and my preferences and Worldox, there are several more menu items over here, and then there's might be a couple more options over on the right. Whatever area that I'm in on the left, I'm going to have certain functions that I'll be able to turn on and off for each one of these different categories over here. So right now I'm on the Audit Trail, which we're going to talk about in another session coming up and in more detail. But here I have certain things that relate to just the Audit Trail. Same thing with auto file naming. There's category options. If you are on an older version of Worldox, you might have library options instead. That would be all. It's alphabetical, I believe. So, but category options. Do you want to sign on, copy, on, move? There's different things here that you can turn on and off. Remember, it's global. When you're turning this on and off, it's for everybody. This isn't a user lockdown specific thing. It is for everyone. You have different comment options. You've got some copy, move, delete options. Do you want to allow, this is the place where you're going to find if they're allowed to do non-salvage deletes. Are they allowed to do delete shredding? Are they allowed to delete network repositories? These are all important things that if you don't want users to be able to have access to these things, this is where you would turn them off. And you can always see the default setting, and then you can see what the actual value is if you've changed it. So you'll know if the default is yes and you've turned this off to no, that you've made a change and that is the actual value that's in there now. The confirmation dialog boxes, sometimes you get all those little boxes that pop up and say, you know, if you move an email, do you want to show the results, those kinds of things. That's where these all are, all those confirmation things. And if you get tired of seeing those popping all the time, or it's just kind of an annoyance, you can turn some of those off in here. Maybe not all of them, but you might want those warnings for some things, but that's where you'll find those.
This is also the place where you would turn them back on if you mistakenly said do not show again.
Correct.
And you want to get it back on so that you can be reminded of something that you may want to know about.
And so again, that might be something that, you know, if you're not finding it in your Worldox preferences under your user, you can maybe turn it on over here if you're not seeing it. The critical updates, whether you want those yes or no to be notified. Email, there's several different email options in here that you can turn on and off. Do you want to send full files? Do you want to allow a password? So again, it's something that you'll click on each one of these categories and then look at all of your options over here on the right. Favorite files history, this is where you can up that. Do you want to have more? Now this is each type of file, remember. So this is telling me here it's set that the default is 20. So I would see the most recent 20 of every Word document, Excel, PDF, you know, whatever that is, I'm seeing the top 20. If you only want to see the last, not the top, the most recent 20. If you want to see the, you know, maybe you only want to see 10, the last, you know, most recent 10. This is where you can change that value. Field code or up it, I guess, if you wanted to see more. Field code options, again, just some other things here. File filter list, you want to show the file filter list. File list options, here's a whole bunch of different things for your file list, and sometimes there's so many that you even have to scroll down. So, there's all kinds of things that if you're trying to figure out whether or not you want to do that, it could be in here. This navigation panel auto expands, that's something that you might want to turn on and off. File renaming options are in here. Find files options, when you're looking for something and doing a find file, there's all kinds of different settings in here that you can say. The legal hold feature, I'm not sure if we have too many people using legal hold, but that is whether or not you want to activate it. Open launch items, those will be in here too. I'm going to kind of scroll down just a little bit here. Get up here to profile options. There's just a few global things there. Productivity Suite, if you have that version and you are using Productivity Suite, this is where you can turn on workflows or the workflow chat or the notify. Save as options. Save as on close, save as on save. There's all different things here that you can set. Sound effects, you can enable or turn them off here. So if you're one of those people that don't like all those sound effects happening, you can turn those off. Spell check options are in here. Version control, if you want to enable versioning or enable subversions. Viewer options, do you want to double-click, auto-view, these kinds of things there. And then the work zone. Do you want to load the work zone? Do you want to have that available down here so that they can load it or not? You can turn it off. Show the results of a multi-file drop, and do you want it always on top, yes or no? So when you're down here on the work zone, and if you're showing it on, oops, I got the right place here, you've got some settings here. Where's my work zone at as I try to get in there?
No, it's not on top.
I don't have it on top.
So enable
but
it.
Yeah, if you enable the, well, that would be up here.
No, here.
Yeah, hold on. Let me get it. So I don't know if I can change it.
But that's only going to change.
Yeah. So anyway, the work zone, you usually have turned the work zone on and off, and or show it on. You got some settings down here on your work zone, and you can also do. I don't know why bookmarks got down there, but anyway. So that is our WDAdmin with their preferences, and just some things that you can get into and change. So if there's something smaller, you're thinking, why did I do that? Is it on here? Can I turn it on and off? You might want to try WDAdmin first under preferences. Now there's other places that we'll talk about in the future that you can lock down users from doing certain things or turn on and off some things, but this is the big place that I would go first off to try to figure out if it's in here and see if I can globally do that for all users. Any questions?
There are no hands in the air, Mary Jo.
Okay, Paul, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, and I'm going to get out of admin, and I'm going to go back to our presentation here and kind of carry on from where we were, because we have a couple pictures in here that are going to help illustrate my points. Now, if you use Worldox, you know that Worldox becomes available or is always available when you are in the office. When you go to save a document, you can't do it unless Worldox is there to put it away for you. It's not going to let you save it the old-fashioned way of just putting it somewhere. Worldox pops up and says, hey, let me put that away. You tell me the client, the matter, or a couple details, and we'll take care of that for you. Likewise, when you go to retrieve a document, Worldox is what you use to find the document. Now, we're going to talk about ways to extend that functionality beyond your office. And so we're not going to talk about checkout and check-in, although that's one way to get a document out of the office. You can check it out, put it on a thumb drive, take it home. Now, of course, that's an advantage because while that document's at home, if somebody else tries to edit it, it's going to say Bob's got that document, and you can open a read-only copy, but you can't open the copy and save over it because Bob's got the document checked out. Another thing we're not going to talk about is the Worldox Web Mobile, which is another way to get to your documents outside the office. The reason we're not going to talk about Web Mobile, and Web Mobile may be the solution for you, so I want to mention this up front. The reason we're not going to talk about it is because it is something you go to. It's not the same sort of experience that you have in the office where if you were to just load Word and start typing and then hit save, Worldox would pop up. That's not how Web Mobile works. Web Mobile is a place you go to and look for documents and save documents to Worldox. It is not something that's going to be there when you're outside the office without your having gone to it first. But there are ways to get your documents to behave that same way outside the office. So what do I mean? If you go to Starbucks and open up your laptop and start typing in Word and hit the Save button, if you were at the office, you would expect Worldox to pop up and say, I'll put that away for you. And if you're using either Worldox Cloud or the Worldox Enterprise Server, then you will get that experience from your local machine, your laptop, no matter where it is, even when you're not in the office. And so what we've got here is a picture that shows how your office currently is. You've got a server with your documents on it. You've got another server, or perhaps the same server, with Worldox on it. And you've got a bunch of computers, and they're all hooked together so that when you're in the office, Worldox will pop up when you go to look for a document. Worldox will pop up when you go to save a document. But there are two ways to take that outside the office. Now, the first is to put in something called the Enterprise Server. And the Enterprise Server means that you've got the ability beyond your firewall, outside the office, at home, in a hotel room, perhaps at a remote office, to have the same level of accessibility to these documents and the same ability to put documents away and have them go back here to the main office that you would. Now, how do you do that? Well, I'll tell you, these two solutions, the Worldox Cloud solution and the Enterprise solution, they're not exactly cheap. But when they're done right and when they're paid for, they take that functionality totally outside the office. So the way to do it with Enterprise Server is to buy the Enterprise Server license for Worldox, which is $2,500 and costs $1,000 a year to maintain, to keep on maintenance, and put it on a server. That server has to also have something called Windows CALs and Terminal Service CALs. If you don't understand what that means, let's just say that those are licenses to use Windows and Terminal Services on that Worldox server. You have to have a separate server to run the Terminal Service CALs, and you have to have a separate proxy server. So you've got 3 extra machines that you need that are server-type machines. You have the expense of the Terminal Server and Windows CALs, which are the licenses. You've got the Worldox Enterprise Server, and you've got a bit of time to hook it all together. But what that gets you then is that just like when you're at one of those computers that's in the office, if you were to be at a remote office or in a hotel room or at home or any place where you've got internet, when you go to save a document, Worldox will pop up and say, I'll put that away for you. And when you put it away under the Purdue Law Office's matter, it will go back to your main office, so that if you were to save this document from your hotel room, and 2 minutes later you called your legal assistant or you called somebody in the office and said, hey, will you pull this up and make sure I did it right, it would be there. And it also means that if you're in that same hotel room and you go to look for a document, you will get the Worldox Find program. I guess you'll get Worldox will pop up and allow you to find the appropriate document and load it up from your office. So no matter where you are, you're accessing the same documents you do in the office, and no matter where you are, when you go to save a document, it saves back to Worldox. Now, that's different than Worldox Web Mobile, because in Worldox Web Mobile, you are on an iPad or you're on a phone or you're running it from a computer, but you sign into it and say, I'm going to send this document up there. But if you were to not be signed into it, you just went into Word and started typing it at save, it would want to save it to your local machine. What this does, beyond what Web Mobile can do, is it takes that entire all-encompassing Worldox experience and takes it outside your office. Now, there's another way that you can get exactly the same thing, and it's called Worldox Cloud. And here, everything lives out in the cloud. Your Worldox server with Worldox on it, your documents, they all live in a cloud-based storage and application serving infrastructure that Worldox maintains, World Software maintains, And so everything is on the cloud. So in that instance, even when you're in the office or at home or at a hotel, you are able to save those documents to this cloud solution. So the difference between that and this is when I'm in the office or when I'm out of the office, my documents are going back to a server that is in my office. So no matter where I am, when I save a document, it's going back to my office. This solution, no matter where I am, including in the office, my documents are going to a cloud-based storage solution that Worldox maintains. Now, when I tell you that this is $50 per user per month, you're going to think, well, gosh, that's a lot of money, and that is way more than Worldox costs. Even way more than Worldox would cost with this. Well, there's a kind of a fine line there. There's a point where this becomes less expensive than the cloud solution. If you're a small 4-person office, the cloud solution is going to be cheaper for you than putting all this hardware in and maintaining it and having to understand how it works. But if you're a big, 27 attorney office or 42 attorney office with, a total of 70 Worldox licenses, this is going to be a cheaper way to get those documents to be accessible from outside the office than putting everything in the cloud. However, we have Worldox has some clients that are that big that are using the cloud solution, because you got to think it's $55 per user per month, but you don't have any servers, any network infrastructure for Worldox, no licensing, no person that has to maintain it there. Everything is in a separate facility where Worldox takes care of everything. So, in a nutshell, these are your 2 ways to get to your Worldox document store, your documents that are stored in Worldox, when you're outside the office. And to have that fully all-encompassing infrastructure, that experience that no matter what you're doing when you press save, no matter what you're doing when you go to retrieve a document, Worldox pops up. Again, different than the web mobile experience, because with the web mobile experience, you have to go somewhere to be in Worldox. It doesn't become the same all-encompassing, all-surrounding experience that you're used to when you're in the office. Are there any questions on that, Leanne?
No, Paul, I think you explained it so well. There's not
no, mine was probably so boring that I put them to sleep. Mary Jo's, she explained well. Mine was just plain boring. But that's how it works. And boring as it may be, or nerdy as it may be, those are the ways to get to your documents outside of Worldox. Next month, and we forgot to look up these topics, Mary Jo. No, we didn't. Next month, we are talking about, Mary Jo's going to continue in her quest through the Worldox WDAdmin program, and this time she's going to look at something called the Audit Trail. One of those things about Worldox that not many other, practice management-based document management solutions will give you, none of them that I know of, is the Audit Trail. And the Audit Trail means that you can tell it's going to keep track of everything everybody does and be able to provide you with information about, where did that document go, who deleted that document, who last looked at that document. Mary Jo is going to give you the in-depth look at that. And I'm going to talk about quick profiles. Quick profiles are just a way to have a lot of the fields already filled in when you go to save something or to take an email and profile it. And they allow you to save quite a bit of time for those matters or instances that you're profiling documents to that are very common. And I do want to mention, while I have your attention, that we do have on our website a complete archive of everything we've ever done. And our website is attorneycomputersystems.com. Notice the emphasis on the last S. And if you go there, once you can see my white shirt and red tie, by the way, we saw somebody at lunch today that looked identical to me. He had the red shirt and white tie, so we're thinking of having my brother Dave, did I say it backwards? White shirt, red tie. We're thinking of having my brother David, the patent attorney, call him and tell him that he's infringing on my look, but we haven't decided on that yet. Here you will find every Worldox virtual user group meeting going back as far as we recorded them, and that's for Worldox. That's since the inception of the the virtual user group meetings. Tabs, Practice Master, we have our coffee pot webinars where we explain different options that are available to you from a add-on sort of standpoint. We have Mary Jo's eBites video series where she gives little snippets of information on very concise videos on a specific feature or little function of one of the programs. And then we have the studio-based Paul and Mary Jo show. Yes, we call it the Paul and Mary Jo show. We're very proud of that. So you can always go back, click on Worldox Virtual User Group Meetings, for instance, and down below the registration link for the currently available webinar, we have all of our recorded versions going back as far as we go. So remember, that is always out there for you, ready for you to answer all the questions you might have. So until next month, everybody have a good week, day, month, whatever it is, and we will see you in about a month. Thanks much. Bye-bye.